Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at something genuinely extraordinary. I'm talking about a rare 50-year economic puzzle that has just snapped perfectly back into place, right now in 2026. Literally, almost to the letter. The last time this exact combination of events happened, well, most people panicked and lost their purchasing power, but a small, prepared group quietly got generationally wealthy. So today, we're going to look strictly at the data to see exactly what they saw, making sure you are the most prepared player in the room.
Okay, let's jump right into our agenda for today. We'll be covering the 50-year economic trap, the 1970s stagflation crisis, how history repeats in 2026, the 1970s investor trap, and finally, the new 2026 playbook.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the 50-year economic trap.
To really understand what's happening today, we have to establish the absolute worst-case scenario for an economy. We're talking about a terrifying monster that really hasn't fully roared in half a century. Economists call this monster stagflation. Basically, it happens when prices are rising fast, the economy is slowing down, and the job market is getting worse, all at the exact same time. The reason this is so incredibly dangerous is that the standard tools a government would normally use to fix one of these problems, well, they actively make the other problems worse.
So, the crucial point here is that this creates an impossible catch-22 for the Federal Reserve. Think of it like a seesaw from hell. If the Fed tries to cut interest rates to help boost the slowing economy and save jobs, they essentially pour gasoline on the fire, making inflation much, much worse. But on the flip side, if they raise interest rates to cool down those rising consumer prices, the economy tanks even harder and unemployment spikes. You are entirely stuck. And this is the exact trap that defined the 1970s.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 1970s stagflation crisis.
You know, to truly grasp the data we're looking at today, we have to look back at the original blueprint. Let's trace this historical chain reaction. It starts back in 1971. President Nixon takes the US dollar off the gold standard, which effectively removes the hard limit on money creation, so the money supply expands rapidly. Then, in October 1973, we get the catalyst. The Yom Kippur War breaks out, triggering the OPEC oil embargo. Oil prices quadrupled almost overnight. Because oil is embedded in the cost of literally everything, inflation goes through the roof. By the late 70s, inflation averaged over 7% a year, peaking above 13%. Finally, in 1981, the Fed is forced to fight back, aggressively hiking interest rates to over 20%. The result? A brutal 11% unemployment rate and massive recessions. So the cycle was money printing, an oil shock, stagflation, aggressive hikes, and then recession.
Which brings us to Section 3. History repeats in 2026.
Now, here is the absolute bombshell. Fast forward to present day, April 2026. Every single piece of that 1970s puzzle has miraculously returned. Look at how this modern timeline perfectly mirrors the past. Step 1, money printing. In 2020, to prevent a COVID economic collapse, the Fed's balance sheet surged from roughly $4 trillion to over $9 trillion. Step 2, all that printing created a massive inflation problem, hitting a 40-year high of 9.1% back in 2022. Step 3, the slowdown. In February 2026, the U.S. economy shed 92,000 jobs in a single month, pushing unemployment up, while core inflation remains stubbornly high at 3%. And finally, the catalyst. Early 2026 sees renewed Middle East conflict, blocking major global oil routes.
And this brilliantly illustrates the geopolitical parallels driving these economic shifts. Back in 1973, it was the Yom Kippur War and the resulting OPEC embargo. Fast forward to early 2026, and military actions between the US, Israel, and Iran led to the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, to be clear, we are looking at these events completely impartially, strictly as drivers of global supply chain and economic disruption. But you have to admit, the setup is identical.
To really understand the scale of this 2026 disruption, consider this number: 1/5. Think about that for a second. Before the conflict, the Strait of Hormuz handled roughly 1/5 of the entire world's daily oil supply. When that route was blocked, a fifth of global oil just vanished. Naturally, crude briefly spiked to $141 a barrel, which is the highest level we've seen since the 2008 financial crisis.
And because of this perfectly recreated setup, market veteran Ed Jardani publicly raised the odds of a full 1970s-style stagflation scenario to 35%. That is a massive 1 in 3 chance. You see, the Fed was expecting to cut rates in June 2026, but now they are completely trapped. If they cut rates, oil-driven inflation explodes. If they raise rates,
The weakening economy spirals into a deep recession.
Let's pivot now to Section 4, the 1970s investor trap.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the human element. Let's look at how this data completely dismantles the illusion of safety. We have 3 hypothetical investors from 1971, each putting away $100 a month. Alex bought the S&P 500. After 10 years, his money grew to $21.5K, but because inflation ran at 124%, he technically lost purchasing power. Then there's Veronica. She kept her money in a savings account, earning up to 12% interest. She hit $20K, but still drastically fell behind inflation. And then there's Lucy, the opportunist. She probably thought she was an absolute genius. She bought gold. After 10 years, her portfolio exploded to $45.5K, absolutely crushing everyone. But hold on, look at the 20-year column. Real wealth is built over decades. Over 20 years, Alex's patient stock strategy won out at $133K, finally beating cumulative inflation. Veronica fell way behind, and Lucy's gold, it only grew to $52K, ending in dead last. Why? Because gold is a fear asset. It soared when people were panicked, but the moment the Fed hiked rates and calmed inflation, gold crashed.
The ultimate lesson from the 1970s investor trap is perfectly captured in this quote. Safety that doesn't beat inflation is not safety, it's just slow wealth destruction. Doing nothing and holding cash while inflation just eats it away, that is actually the biggest risk of all.
So, that leaves us with the absolute most important question of this explainer. Where is the smart money moving right now in 2026? Because as much as the threats are similar, trying to use a 1973 playbook today is going to cause you to miss the real opportunities. The 1970s didn't have AI. They didn't have a global semiconductor shortage or a massive reshaping of global supply chains.
Let's break that down in Section 5, the new 2026 playbook.
Make no mistake, institutional money is already moving, totally forced by these unique economic pressures. Based on market commentary from heavy hitters like Citi Wealth and Van Eck, attention has shifted decisively to 4 opportunity zones: energy independence, defense and aerospace, the AI physical backbone, and real hard assets. Let's briefly break each of these down.
Pillar 1 is energy. You see, when oil spikes to $140 a barrel, producers don't suffer. They benefit enormously. Back in 2022, during the last serious oil spike, the S&P Energy Index returned 65%, while the broader market actually lost 18%. And unlike the 1970s, the U.S. is now the world's largest oil producer. Integrated U.S. energy companies are perfectly positioned to benefit from these high global prices. Pillar 2 is defense and aerospace. Again, keeping politics completely out of this, we are simply reporting on the flow of money. With active conflicts and a global reshuffling of security assumptions, defense company revenues naturally go up. Right now, multiple NATO countries are dramatically increasing their defense budgets, pumping money directly into the manufacturing of physical military technology, communication systems, and aircraft.
Now, Pillar 3 reveals a totally modern opportunity: the AI physical backbone. Goldman Sachs has actually flagged that AI spending is shifting from digital software into physical infrastructure. Just think about it for a second. Data centers need massive amounts of electricity, cooling systems, rare earth metals, and copper to function. Whoever wins the AI software race, whether it's Google or OpenAI, it doesn't matter. They all need this enormous physical infrastructure. It's the ultimate picks and shovels play.
Finally, Pillar 4, real assets. For the last 15 years, you could build serious wealth just owning software companies with zero physical assets. But experts, like the chief investment officer at SYZ Group, are pointing out that we're seeing a sustained shift away from paper assets toward hard physical things: steel, copper, critical minerals. The physical economy is aggressively reclaiming its value in an increasingly volatile world.
Ultimately, you have to ask yourself one final, very critical question. Are you unknowingly holding on to 1970s safety in a 2026 world? Because the worst thing you can do right now is wait around for absolute certainty. By the time the headlines catch up, the winning assets have already moved. Remember, preparation isn't panic. So take a hard look at your portfolio. Do you actually have exposure to energy, physical infrastructure, or real assets? Take the data we've unpacked today, ask the tough questions, and make sure you are positioned for the reality of 2026. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.